Lauren, welcome to Sweet Tea with Emily. How are you?
So great today. How are you?
I'm so glad to have you. I have had lunches with you. I've bumped into you for years. I've always been a huge fan, and now I get to call you a friend. And thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
Well, you have so many incredible things going on in life, personally, professionally, and everything in between. Before we start, what can I get you to drink?
Well, today I'm drinking a simple water out of my Stanley, not sponsored, but I love a good sparkling water these days. Like, if you add a little flavoring, even better, but just a sparkling water, it hits. What
You
about
know,
you? What can I
I
get you?
I don't do carbonation.
Mm.
And I don't love water anymore. I used to drink it all the time when I was pregnant. And then after my C-section, I get nauseous when I drink water. Isn't that the funniest thing ever?
Actually, I remember you telling me this because you brought me a little packet that I put in water when we went to Aubergine, and I've been buying those packets. So you've got me hooked.
Well, and you gave me one of the good pack. Tell me what was the name of
The
it?
Rookie Wellness, another
Yes.
non-sponsor, but love them.
Love them. And you had the cutest little carrying case with all these bright colored, like flavored water packets of like health benefits. I think the green one is the one you gave me that I love.
Okay. Well, I love Rookie too.
Oh my gosh. So, Lauren, I
Yes.
always make everyone introduce themselves. So tell the network, what do you do?
So I'm Lauren, and I do a lot of things. I'd say I'm a serial entrepreneur. I love starting stuff. Like the first day is the best day of a business because you can ideate all day long. But the two main things I'm doing right now, my family has a resort in southern Utah called Zion Ponderosa, and I'm deeply involved. And this kind of came like little by little. I didn't think that, when I was 15, that this would be such a part of my career at 30. But at 15, my dad started sending me down to Zion Ponderosa to gain some work ethic. And so I did a little bit of everything. Like I started by running the kids camp, and then I was running the poolside bar, except I didn't drink. And so I had to memorize the pairings of what went well with our burgers and pizza. And I had no idea what beer combinations worked, but I memorized that, faked it till I made it, did Zion Ponderosa, and I've kept doing it ever since. So at one point, I launched our tour operator company called Eastside Adventures. That's become a pretty smashing success. It's been pretty good. And these days, I'm actually helping them with their group strategy. So our whole overarching goal is to make $1 million of group sales specifically this next year. And then this time next year, open our big event center so that we can have more groups come. But we've had all sorts of groups, big companies, small companies, retreats, church groups, private schools, and I just want to expand that offering. So that's what I'm doing on the Zion Ponderosa side, and it is busy.
And Lauren, I think we talked about this last time we had lunch. I make kind of this year-end revenue goals every year for the company. And I always tell the team, like, okay, if we are just at Target, I'll still take you somewhere, but it's probably going to be somewhere stateside. And Lauren, this could be so perfect for us. If we just blow it out of the water and we want to go crazy and exotic, then so be it. But like, I'm going to come. I'm going to have the experience. Like, I want to do this.
It's really, really wonderful. It's kind of an oasis here in Utah. I say we're kind of like the redneck Sundance of the South.
Not true at all. I consider it so like rustic and just like someone that loves nature and wants like a true like grit southern Utah experience. Like this is not going to get more raw and amazing than this, I
It
think.
is. And I think we've done a pretty good job of bringing in the rustic nature aspect, but then also adding a little bit of polish and where it makes sense. So we have these $1 million mountain mansions that are just kind of in the middle of the Zion National Park. It's beautiful. And then we have amazing adventures like canyoneering and jeep tours and guided hikes and stargazing. And then we also have great food. So it's kind of your all-in-one package, and people seem to really like it.
Well, a bed and food and $1 million mansion in the middle of Zion Park. I'm telling you, like, I love that it's a little bit under the radar and it hasn't like exploded nationally or internationally yet. Like, I like that there's still a little bit of that like treasure insiders kind of feel to it. I know you're getting it nationally and internationally acclaimed and all of that, Lauren, but slow down. Let all of our locals get there and take their companies and their staff before it gets too big.
It is really fun. It's been a family project since 1962. And so I'm just grateful to play my part and help take it to the next step. And like you said, there is a little bit of local under the radar charm because every time you come, there's going to be something new, something we're working on, something we've refined, and that keeps it fun, keeps it fresh.
Well, and I interrupted. That is not your full-time job. That is your passion. You've been there since you're 15. You're incredible at it. I was hoping that when Dad sent you down there when you were 15, scrubbing toilets was part of the assignment. Was that ever? Did you ever do any of the cleanup stuff, Lauren?
I did. Actually, yeah, I did.
Good for Dad.
Mostly because our housekeeping had this annoying habit of not cleaning our public spaces, like just cleaning the homes. And so if it needed to be cleaned, I cleaned it.
Oh, good. True entrepreneur CEO in the making. Okay. So when you're not doing Ponderosa, tell us what you're doing.
So during the Ponderosa years, I wanted to scratch my own itch because I found that if someone did an activity with us, so they looked up at the night sky on our stargazing trip, or they found the canyons forming around them as they did a canyoneering trip, or if they looked out at the vista and the sunset and held their loved ones close on our sunset Jeep tour. If they did one of those things, they stayed longer, they spent more money, they came back again, they made it part of their family tradition, and they told their friends. So it became the unlock. Like, not only am I going to get happier guests and more revenue, but I don't have to do as much marketing because it sells itself.
That's right.
A huge unlock. And so I thought, how can we get more of our guests doing activities? At that point, only about 10% did. And I wanted to bump that up. Now it's about 75, 80%. And we actually do our best to send guests away if they're not going to do an adventure with us, because we say, trust us. We're not just, you don't just choose us because we're close to Zion. You choose us because we are a destination in and of itself. So that's kind of been an initiative over the last decade. And along the way, I thought, if we have this problem, other destinations do too. Other destinations struggle to get people to really, really connect with their local economy and experiences. And so my husband and I have been building this company called Spontigo. And that's the whole goal, is to aggregate all of the best that a local community has to offer. And for every community, it's different. That's kind of the beauty of it. It could be anything from a food tour to a hiking experience to a helicopter tour to a fishing, like sky's the limit. I mean, truly anything you can think about. We gather all of that and we make it bookable. So we work with local destinations, like in Southern Utah, Visit Southern Utah, for example, and we put this booking widget on their website. We work with hotels and give it to their concierges or put it on their website. So one of our clients is Hotel Park City, a lovely little venue up in Park City. And our booking widget is on their website. So when you're booking your lodging, you can also see all the other cool things to do in Park City. And if something catches your fancy, you can book it.
And Lauren, it's like a one-stop adventure shop, right? Like, my husband watches these. He's my biggest fan. I know he's listening. But like, I tell him part of my, when we go on vacation is I don't want to like think about what to do. I love the spontaneous. And he's like, Emily, well, you have to have a room and a flight and a couple of like basics. And he takes care of all of that. But I thought, this is so my style. Go in a hotel, scan something and see what all of my options are, and then kind of decide what's my appetite for adventure,
And I've just spent too much time in a hotel room frustrated because I kind of feel like when I start a trip, my hourglass turns and then all the sand's running out with every minute that passes. And maybe it's a neurotic thing on my part, but I'm like, I've spent so much money and time to get here. I've cleared my schedule for this. I want to make the most of this experience. I want to suck the marrow out of the bone of this experience. How can I do so better? And then I find myself in the hotel lobby, just hitting up Google and TripAdvisor and blogs and trying to find last minute stuff and calling all these operators, seeing if they have availabilities. And it's a really frustrating experience. And, some of my favorite travel experiences have been littered with those hard moments. Like my husband and I got engaged this year in Portland, and I really, really wanted to do a lobster tour. I wanted to go lobstering and catch our own lobster and eat it for dinner. And we got there and everything seemed booked, and it was so hard. And I was calling these operators and it wasn't working. And finally, we just kind of abandoned the idea, and I was really bummed about it. And later I found that indeed there were things available. I just didn't know where to find them. So that's what we do.
Yeah, no, and I love it because being a small entrepreneur myself, um, a lot of times the company with the biggest marketing budget and all the billboards and beautiful campaigns and stuff get the lion's share of the attention. And so to kind of put it in a place where it's all accessible and people truly know all of their options and just aren't navigated to the biggest, flashiest one. There's a local, I think I told you about, there's a local company. I haven't talked to them, but it's Snowgo, it's ski bikes. And I just have been obsessed with this company because I'm not a snowboarder. I'm not a skier, but I live in Utah and I want to go to the mountains once or twice a year. And I'm like, Lauren, you got to get them on all of your Utah stuff because a casual person that comes in that wants to go to the resorts, sometimes taking a ski lesson or snowboarding lesson is not fun. You just are on your bum all day long, and you're sore. This is a way to have fun. And I'm like, get them advertised,
Totally. And you're right. You're absolutely right. I found this time and time again. And then every destination, there are a couple of operators that have the lion's share because they have the marketing budget, because they've been around for forever. But there are also a lot of mom and pop shops that are also great. They also provide an exceptional experience. And I don't know about you, but those are the things that I sometimes prefer. Like, don't put me on a coach bus with 50 other people. Put me with a guide with me and 5 others and give me a really remarkable experience. Like, show me your local gems, take me to your best restaurants, give me all of the authentic recommendations all along the way, point out the things that no one else knows about, because that's why I hire someone to take me around.
That's right.
And every time I've had that experience, I've had this local connection with the place. And I've stored that in as a place that I want to take my kids back someday. And I want to, and I've cherished it forever because it's authentic. Word of the year.
Lauren, word of the year, right? I know I use that word so much. It's
too much. I need to
I love it. It's such a core value of ours. That transparency.
Yeah.
Those are words that we talk a lot about at Higher Integrated as well. Lauren, you are like an entrepreneur, like in every single fiber of your being. Like, it's just who you are. Like, your family are entrepreneurs. Like, everything about you and your surroundings and people you hang out with just screams entrepreneurship. What is in Lauren's future? Like, what are you trying to achieve over the course of the next few years?
I want an acquisition in the next 5 years. So that is my husband and my like North Star goal, is an acquisition and build something that's worth selling and worth something that someone would want to buy. And that's important to me for a few reasons. I think the biggest thing is that is like a way to buy my time back. And I don't know about you, but since you're a fellow entrepreneur girly, I think you might agree that, and I've heard you say this before, that you want to be available to take your kid to the zoo. You want to be available when they come home from school, and I want the same things. And so for me, owning my time is essential. And I've worked for a lot of great companies as well through this whole entrepreneurial journey, but I need to have the autonomy to work and to blend life as I can. And so that's what I'm working towards, building something that someone wants to buy.
I love it. I love that you own it. And I think that having that clarity is really helpful for the members of your team as well.
Yep.
I'm kind of on that journey right now. We just hit our 3-year mark, and I'm like, okay, the first year was just, let's see what I can do. The second year was like, oh, wow, this is real. And I can this is happening another year. The third year was growth, like getting foundational items in place that got kind of ran over year 1 and 2, and our identity and deciding who we are and where we're going. And Lauren, I'm totally at that crossroads. Like, do I build this to scale for sale? Right? Am I going to be able to like hand over my baby and it grow and survive and, without me?
Yeah.
That's, they care a lot about that.
Mhm. No, they
Our,
do. They have that like key-man risk. Like they won't buy you if it's not going to work without you because it's a bad investment.
right? Total a bad investment. Or, there's advantages of that. I think it has a negative connotation, that lifestyle type of company where it just sustains you and it's a really good income. And, I've worked for those companies as well and I've seen the benefits of them. But Lauren, I really am leaning. I mean, the more investors I talk to, the more M&A folks, like I think the payoff is in the acquisition just because it's kind of that pinnacle of the value. And plus we're serial entrepreneurs. I'm going to think of something else to do,
You're gonna get rich. And even if you don't, so that's the beauty of this whole thing is if you build something someone wants to buy and even pay a premium for it, and then you change your mind and want to keep operating it and keep building your awesome life because it's a part of that, then you can do so. But I studied finance in undergrad and I forgot pretty much everything. Like ask me to do a discounted cash flow and see ya. But the one thing I remember is options are valuable. If you have an option, it's better than not having one. And so if you have a business that could be sold and want to keep operating it, then go for it. But if you have a business where everything lives or dies based on you and you want to step away, it's a lot harder.
And this is why I love you, Lauren, right here in true time fashion. This is how all of our conversations go, right? Like, where did your wisdom? I mean, every time I talk to you, I always end up talking about myself because I'm like, coach me, remind me, what are you doing? I can be so influenced by you. Like, you are just like this old soul of wisdom and clarity on sometimes really complex issues.
Well, thank you. And I don't know if all of that's deserved, but I appreciate it. I think that I'm a sponge of a lot of people's thoughts. Like, ask me where I got that acquisition framework, and I won't be able to tell you, but it's probably a melding of like 10 different thought leaders' regurgitated meanderings that I've listened to podcasts and books and maybe a business teacher or two throughout my college days. I don't know. But I think it all comes together to at least give me a framework to live by.
I love it. I love that you're working. Are you just kind of making sure that the company is growing and hitting benchmarks, or are you doing anything as far as developing relationships with that M&A world so that you continue to be on their spotlight? Like, what's your strategy in making sure that that 5-year-ish acquisition happens?
Well, I mean, I think ultimately, I saw this thing the other day. It's like when someone starts business, they go into it because they want cash flow, and then they get all caught up in all of the acronyms like EBITDA and ROAS and da, 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 da. And then by the end, they realize that all that really matters is cash flow. And I think that, like trying to take that process out of it, I realized that ultimately, if I have something that is generating cash and has like moats around it, like it's really hard for someone else to break into the space, then it's something someone wants to buy. But I have like my target acquirers and I keep them on my roadmap. So I know the companies they've bought and how much they've paid for them and what types of multiples they find to be fair. Like I know those things. And so some of the decisions I make on a day to day are based on those things. And then ultimately just build something someone wants to buy.
And then will you please come work with me?
I
feel that way every time. I think every conversation, I also get tempted to go straight, full on explicit recruiting mode with you, Lauren. It's the recruiter instinct in me.
That is a compliment.
Oh my goodness, you're very employable. But I will say, people like us, I can only speak for myself. Tell me if you agree or disagree. I don't want to work for anybody. I'm not manageable. Like I am very much so like closest to the dollar. Like sometimes I'm awful at that and get distracted, but then I'll do whatever I need to do to make up for it plus some the next day. And that doesn't always work for a traditional company that needs to see like that I have the vote of confidence in myself because I have to do it. I don't have any other choice, you know?
A hundo. So a few things came to mind. Up until about a year and a half ago, like I said, I more or less had jobs all throughout, forever. And I became the butt of my siblings' jokes because they were like, you're like a feather in the wind. Like you just can't be held down. But I have had people cry when I leave companies. So that makes me feel good. But I think the reason that it's so hard for me to work for someone else is because, by the end of, I worked for this last company for a year and a half. By the end of that, everyone who I interacted with thought that it was my company. Like they thought that I was the founder because I was so passionate about it, because it was apparent I worked really hard and I worked the nights, I worked the weekends, I pounded the pavement. And somewhere along the way, I woke up and I said, wait, I have like a couple percentage points of this company and I could have the whole thing and work equally as hard. So it didn't really make sense. Like that